Soothing story time. More Reginald stories. Reginald on the Academy. One goes to the Academy in self-defense, said Reginald. It is the one topic one has in common with the country cousins. It is almost a religious observance with them, said the other, a kind of artistic mecca, and when the good ones die, they go to the chantry bequest. The mystery is what they find to talk about in the country. There are two subjects of conversation in the country: servants, and can fowls be made to pay? The first, I believe, is compulsory, the second optional. As a function, resumed Reginald, the Academy is a failure. You think it would be tolerable without the pictures? The pictures are all right in their way. After all, one can always look at them if one is bored with one's surroundings, or wants to avoid an eminent acquaintance. Even that doesn't always save one. There is the inevitable female whom you met once in Devonshire, or the Matapopo hills or somewhere, who charges up to you with the remark that it's funny how one always meets people one knows at the Academy. Personally, I don't think it funny. I suffered in that way just now, said Reginald plaintively, from a woman whose word I had to take that she had met me last summer in Brittany. I hope you were not too brutal. I merely told her with engaging simplicity that the art of life was the avoidance of the unattainable. Did she try and work it out on the back of her catalogue? Not there and then. She murmured something about being so clever. Fancy coming to the Academy to be clever. To be clever in the afternoon argues that one is dining nowhere in the evening, which reminds me that I can't remember whether I accepted an invitation from you to dine at Kedner's tonight. On the other hand, I can remember with startling distinctiveness not having asked you to. So much uncertainty is unbecoming in the young. So we'll consider that settled. What were you talking about? Oh, pictures. Personally, I rather like them. They are so refreshingly real and probable. They take away from the unrealities of life. One likes to escape from oneself occasionally. That is the disadvantage of a portrait. As a rule, one's bitterest friends can find nothing more to ask than the faithful unlikeness that goes down to posterity as oneself. I hate posterity. It's so fond of having the last word. Of course, as regards portraits, there are exceptions. For instance, to die before being painted by Sargent is to go to heaven prematurely. With the necessary care and impatience, you may avoid that catastrophe. If you are going to be rude, said Reginald, I shall dine with you tomorrow night as well. The chief vice of the Academy, he continued, is its nomenclature. Why, for instance, should an obvious trout stream with a palpable rabbit sitting in the foreground be called an evening dream of unbeclouded peace, or something of that sort? You think, said the other, that a name should economize description rather than stimulate imagination. Properly chosen, it should do both. There is my lady kitten at home, for instance. I've called it Derry. Suggests nothing to my imagination but protracted sieges and religious animosities. Of course, I don't know your kitten. Oh, you're silly. It's a sweet name, and it answers to it when it wants to. Then, if there are any unseemly noises in the night, they can be explained succinctly. Derry and Tom's. You might almost charge for the advertisement, but as applied to pictures, don't you think your system would be too subtle, say for the country cousins? Every reformation must have its victims. You can't expect the fatted calf to share the enthusiasm of the angels over the prodigal's return. Another darling weakness of the Academy is that none of its luminaries must arrive in a hurry. You can see them coming for years, like a Balkan trouble or a sweet improvement, and by the time they have painted 1,000 or so square yards of canvas, their work begins to be recognized. Someone who must not be contradicted said that a man must be a success by the time he's 30 or never. To have reached 30, said Reginald, is to have failed in life. Reginald at the theatre. After all, said the Duchess vaguely, there are certain things you can't get away from. Right and wrong, good conduct, and moral rectitude have certain well-defined limits. So, for the matter of that, replied Reginald, as the Russian Empire, the trouble is that the limits are not always in the same place. Reginald and the Duchess regarded each other with mutual distrust, tempered by unscientific interest. Reginald considered that the Duchess had much to learn. In particular, not to hurry out of the Carlton as though afraid of losing one's last bus. A woman, he said, who is careless of disappearances is capable of leaving town before Goodwood and dying at the wrong moment of an unfashionable disease. The Duchess thought that Reginald did not exceed the ethical standard which circumstances demanded. Of course, she resumed combatively, it is the prevailing fashion to believe in perpetual change and mutability, and all that sort of thing, and to say we are all merely an improved form of primeval ape. Of course you subscribe to that doctrine? I think it decidedly premature. In most people I know, the process is far from complete. And equally, of course, you are quite irreligious. Oh, by no means. The fashion just now is a Roman Catholic frame of mind with an agnostic conscience. You get the medieval picturesqueness of the one with the modern conveniences of the other. I wonder, said Reginald, if you have ever walked down the embankment on a winter night. Gracious child, no. Why do you ask? I didn't. I only wondered. And even your philanthropy, practiced in a world where everything is based on competition, must have a debit as well as a credit account. The young ravens cry for food, and are fed. Exactly. Which presupposes that something else is fed upon. Oh, you simply exasperating. You've been reading Nietzsche till you haven't got any sense of moral proportion left. May I ask if you are governed by any law of conduct whatsoever? There are certain fixed rules that one observes for one's own comfort. For instance, never be flippantly rude to any inoffensive grey-bearded stranger that you may meet in pine forests or hotel smoking rooms on the continent. It always turns out to be the King of Sweden. The restraint must be dreadfully irksome to you. When I was younger, boys of your age used to be nice and innocent. Now we are only nice. One must specialize in these days. Which reminds me of the man I read of in some sacred book, who was given a choice of what he most desired, and because he didn't ask for titles and honours and dignities, but only for immense wealth, these other things came to him also. I'm sure you didn't read about him in any sacred book. Yes, I fancy you will find him in Debrett. The end.